Hello, good evening.
Hello.
It works saying that the last thing you see is the NCSS, isn't it? And then we smile. Oh, dear. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And those that will watch us on recording, thank you for watching us on record. We are streaming in 3 different places. I perhaps should have said to you, and we also stream live to YouTube. Thank you for joining us, Reverend Tina, I should say. Sorry, my apologies. And Reverend Adrian is filling in for our Reverend Jeanette this evening. He's aiding and abetting. You might just need to turn your microphone up a bit there, Adrian. Just a tiddly bit if you can. Just a little bit, yes. If you want to ask Reverend Tina any questions, everybody, just pop it in the comments box and we'll do our very best to accommodate you with our questions and answers. And hope you're all well. I think we'll go straight into Reverend Tina giving us a little bit of an insight of herself, and then Reverend Adrian can give you your first question, if that's okay with you. Shall we do an opening prayer?
I was just going to ask you that. Do you want me to do one?
Yes, please.
Yes, you do?
Please.
Okay.
Yes. So, and I'll follow with the Lord's Prayer.
All right. Okay. So we will ask the Divine Spirit, our Father God, to gather around each and every one of us this evening and to allow us to share some time together so that we can bring forward the energy, the love, and the knowledge that our spirit world and our God wish to share with everyone who is here and present this evening. And with that, I will say thank you and God bless. Amen.
Amen. I'll now do the Lord's Prayer. I'll do it on my own so it doesn't echo back.
Okay.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, I don't know if you noticed, but I've got no orange hair tonight. I've got the halo. Everybody was moaning at my orange hair, and I said my hair is not orange. It's the light in here. So hallelujah, I'm back to being blonde.
I'm just going to stay where I am in sort of this semi-light because mine's grey.
Oh, bless you. It looks blonde. Let's go with blonde.
Yeah, well, I was dark, very, very dark when I was younger, but, it went grey quite young. So I was blonde for quite a while. But no, I've gone with my age now. So.
Oh, bless you. Well, that's the best thing to do. Do it with grace, I always think. Somebody's saying, hello all, nice to see smiles and laughter. I'm just going to log in on my phone so I can keep up with, because it's not telling me, it's saying Facebook user, and then I can tell you exactly who that is. And I'll just move there we go. Just move the volume down. Pamela Connor. Thank you, Pamela. That's lovely. And Aisha Jade Gorman, thank you for joining us this evening. There is other people there. They just haven't popped anything in the comments as yet. Okay. Lovely hair. Thank you. That's very kind. And she might mean yours, actually. Adrian.
Probably, yeah. Probably Adrian's, I mean, it's a fabulous look, isn't it? Saves all that messing with shampoo.
I know it's the polished look.
Exactly.
Look.
And you acquire a halo, don't you? Just when you least expect it. As well.
I've got one. It's down. It's on the floor somewhere.
Oh right.
It slipped right off.
Okay. Would you tell you a bit about me?
Yes, please, Reverend Tina. That'd be lovely. Thank you.
All right then. For me, I think working with spirit was something that I did from a child. But to be honest, it was only when I actually started to go to classes and things like that, and I realised then, that I was connected to spirit. I used to be able to see, obviously, and the one thing that I hadn't realised that I was doing was going into trance.
Oh, really?
And that used to get me into an awful lot of trouble when I was a young kid, because, you know, I would end up sort of being with adults and then suddenly not aware of the change and talking to them, or spirit talking through me to them, which usually it did end up with me getting a clip around the ear off my mum, because she'd say I was upsetting people. And it was only, as I say, when I came into the movement that I realised that it was the trance that I was just quite comfortably slipping in and out of. And I think when you've been sort of hit upside the head a few times, you push that side of what you can do away. And I did that for quite a considerable amount of time. But I was always aware of spirit. And I used to say things like, go away, because I'm not playing, and just leave me alone. And I've got other things that I'm trying to do. And just ignore the fact that they were actually dropping in on a regular basis. And the one part that I found a bit disconcerting at that time was that understanding of death, and knowing the people that I was meeting, if they were coming near to the end of their time. And I found that quite disturbing when I was younger. Now I accept that spirit will come forward and occasionally give us that information. For me now, as I've gotten older, I actually hear the music in the background, the most amazing, beautiful music and singing. And I always say to my husband, who's a working medium as well, did you hear that? If he says no, then I know it's just me, you know, and that's after I've opened the doors and the windows and had to listen just to make sure there isn't a party or something going on somewhere. And then realising, no, it's definitely just me. And so I know that there's a passing about to come. Usually within about 2 or 3 days of that happening, you know, something will transpire. And I prefer that to actually meeting people and sort of watching them go and thinking, oh, they're coming to the end of their time. And, you know, and it is a difficult one to sort of to cope with. However, I got myself used to all of that, and seeing, as I say, the spirit world and what have you, and then still continuing to deny it, because the rest of the family were all working with spirit and everything. You know, they did on my mum's side and they did on my dad's. So, you know, it was like, you haven't got a choice, because, you know, you're in here. We've decided to work with you, and that's the end of it.
And that's it, yeah.
So my sister and my cousins and things, we you know, sort of quite oftentimes when we were together, we would work through and with spirits. So that just became a normal thing. And when I went to church initially, I went to a local spiritualist church here in Southport. And, you know, when the medium used to come to me, I used to go absolutely puce in the face, thinking, oh no, you know, I don't want people to look or to acknowledge me, not even the spirit world, you know, like this.
Yeah, I see.
You know, you kind of get used to all of that. And then one day I received a message from the platform of a gentleman, and what he actually said to me was, the spirit world have got plans for you, but for a short while they're taking you on a different path. And when they take you on that different path, I don't want you to worry about it or anything, because everything will be in place, funds will be in place, everything will be there. But you need to go on this path, because it will bring you back onto your spiritual path in about 4 or 5 years' time. And when that happens, please be aware that you will have a church.
Oh.
So I kind of looked at that and smiled. And the gentleman that gave me the message was a gentleman called Chris Brandreth. And he came up from Wales, and he was an amazing medium, an absolutely amazing medium. However, I was like, why would I want a church? Number one. And number two, the only other thing I ever wanted to do was to be able to teach. And I can't see how that would come about. But I ended up at college, and again, like Adrian, a technophobe, they took us around the college and showed us everything. And, it was a massive room with banks of screens and computers, and everybody was working away. And I went into panic mode, absolute panic mode, because I was thinking, oh no, I can't, I don't want to do this. But the tutor, she was so lovely, and she said to me, don't worry about it, because everything is going to be okay. And we went to the classroom, and I don't know about you, Adrian, but, everybody in that room switched their computers on. Me, I had the darn keypad in my hand and everything, turning over, looking for the on switch.
Where's the on button?
And then, so anyway, one of the other girls that was there, who since we've become great friends, and we've been friends for many years, she came up and said, can you not switch it on? And I went, no. So she pressed a button, and hey, look what happened. I was sat there in front of this screen with all this going on. And I never expected actually to enjoy it. I didn't. Because, when I went to the college, I'd been extremely ill for quite a long time, and I'd sort of lost a lot of confidence and that kind of thing. And so somebody suggested college to maybe bring me out of myself and what have you, which is why I ended up there in the first place. One thing I never expected in a million years was to be teaching the other students in the class and helping them while the tutor was also helping other students who were having problems as well. And, and I ended up doing that before I could turn round. And she kept saying to me, you're going to be teaching at this college one day. And I used to say, oh, right, okay. But as it was, they did. They put me through the 7307 and then onto the teacher training course. With Lancaster University and what have you, and I did all that paperwork, and I presented everything, and I was with what I thought were highfalutin, really clever people all around me, and all much younger than I was, and I lived on the edge because I always thought they're going to be so clever and I'm going to be so thick, like this, and it didn't turn out like that. When we got to the end of our first year and we had to hand all our work in for appraisal, my tutor said to me, you've finished all your work. We've got about 9 weeks to go and you've done everything. So he said, but you're going to have to come into class. You're going to have to come in and then I can just send you home. Nobody needs to know you've gone home, but that's what I'll do. So I used to turn up, but if anybody was sort of struggling, I used to help them. As he would get on with whatever he was doing. I got on with what I was doing. And then they offered me a role. And I used to really thoroughly enjoy doing Photoshop and Publisher, because that allows you some artistic flair. And so I used to have a wonderful time doing things like that, and showing people how to strip everything back to its basics and take the colour out of everything and reintroduce colour and all this sort of thing, and to think outside the box when looking at shapes, and to create something just from the shapes that you have on the screen in Word. And so we used to do all that sort of thing, and it was great, and it was lovely, and it was great working with all of those people. And as I say, I ended up sort of teaching all different people different sort of skills and how to present their work and what have you. But the ones that did give me the greatest amount of pleasure were those who, had problems with, sort of their physical or mental well-being, and and they were absolutely wonderful. They were a joy to behold. So I did that for a good few years, and then as I've already explained to you, and as I did to Reverend Lynn, I do have some health issues and things like this, especially with mobility and what have you. And I became quite ill at the college, so I had to retire. And so I did that, and then I ended up back in church, back in the classes and things. And when I went into the awareness class, and I gave a message to a lady, which was the most nerve-wracking thing I'd ever done in all of my life. It was worse than getting up in front of a classroom full of students. And passing on a message, and she was so delighted because I brought her mother through, and I just thought, how lovely is that? And that's when I realised that I could work clairsentiently as well. And so I'm quite lucky, really, because when I do work as a medium and the spirit world step in, what actually happens is that I start to become aware of whether I'm male, female, how tall I am, small I am, how wide or thin I am, what colour hair, whether I've got any. Sometimes I don't, and so I have all of these different types of things going on, and I get all the conditions and so on and so forth. Which I know sometimes when I've worked in the past, especially if it's sort of heart or breathing conditions, and I'm really struggling to catch my breath or whatever, the congregation that are there in front of me are a bit, is she going to drop?
Charming.
She can't breathe properly or anything. And I have to keep saying to them, we haven't got quite to what it is that they actually want me to say. So just let me, and one of the reasons that I don't sit in this format, by the way, usually is because I can't keep still when I'm working. I charge up and down the platform like there's no tomorrow. And I'm always saying to Spirit, tomorrow when this is all over, I won't be able to get out of bed. So you've got to stop charging me up and down and up and down. Can we slow the pace just a little bit? So that, so I tend to say I walk with Spirit when I'm working. And it's one of the reasons why I don't really sit and do this, because I'd at some point have to get up and start walking all over the place. And, the leads on a computer and so on, they don't wandering about, here, there and everywhere. So that is one of the reasons why I tend not to do messages over the internet.
We have another medium that's like that, do you know Rosie Spirit? And when we have her on for the evening, she does it on her phone, and you can see their hallway flashing past her and into the room and then back around again. She must wear a carpet.
It's an idea, isn't it? But I've never thought about that. I just thought, sometimes people used to say, will you slow down? I'm getting dizzy. It's like being at a tennis match, watching you going back and two. But that was just the way that the spirit world have worked with me and what have you, and I quite enjoy that. And as I say, they bring in the claircognizance. Sometimes I can hear myself saying things, and I'm there thinking to myself, where the heck's all of this coming from? And it's all the words just come jumbling out. Do you know what I mean? And I just go with the flow. And that's something I always say when I'm teaching people. we need to respect what spirit are bringing to us and how they want to work with us, because at the end of the day, we're as individual as we can be, and so is spirit, and we have to allow them to be who they want to be as they work through us. And so therefore nothing is ever wrong, nothing. You know, and we mustn't use language that we shouldn't, obviously, but nothing's really wrong. So you know, so you do have to kind of be on your toes, because people do come through and they're very colourful on occasions, and I'm sure we've all had that, you know. And so we try to avoid that, you know. I did once get caught out, and I didn't really say anything awful, but I realised what I'd said, and I just stopped, and I went absolutely puce. And then I looked at everybody in the congregation and said, "I am so sorry, but that was the energy and it slipped out." And they just all started laughing. The one thing I don't do is that I'm no good singing, and I'm not a great dancer. And from time to time, you know, they've had me singing and dancing. You know, I find that, you know, sort of, well, I have to apologise afterwards. But that led me to, as I say, to the church. And my mentor was a lady called Meg Simpson, and she was a lovely medium, and she also worked with trans. And so I studied with her, and she taught me how to control the trance and what have you, and to be able to work with that. So now I sit with people who can work with trance and help them on their journey to actually become comfortable with that process. And whilst I was with Meg, we ended up, you know, sort of opening up our first church, which was in I'm just trying to think. It was Unitarian. That was it, the Unitarian church. And we used to do the healing. I used to do the healing because I was the mentor for Lancashire and District Healing. And you know, so we would do that, and then Meg would do the awareness class, and then we opened up to do services and things like this. And we were there for quite a few years, and Meg went back to New Zealand and left me with the church to carry on running. And then one night, Spirit came, and they told me that we would be moving from the Unitarian church. And so I argued with them, to be honest, the way you do. And you know,
I don't know what you mean, I'm sure.
No, we're not moving. No, we're staying here, you know. No. They kept telling me, you will be moving. You've already seen where you're going. You know, it's not very far from here, and that's where you will be, and you will open a true church. And when they said that, you know, it was like, pardon. And what they actually meant was it would be open 7 days a week. So yeah, the church had to close. The Unitarians were told by their head office in Liverpool that they had to close. Predominantly, they were all elderly, and they couldn't keep up the pace. And so whilst we were at the Unitarian church, we used to do all the decorating, the repairs, and make sure everything was A-OK, and everyone was comfortable and what have you. And they actually thought, we actually cleaned the church this one time, and a group of us went in and we bottomed the church, and you know, great high ceilings and everything. We had a massive big ladder that we used to access the lights and what have you. And they actually thought we decorated.
Because you cleaned it.
Because we cleaned it, yeah.
It must have been bad.
Well, you know, I mean, they were all in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, so, you know, they were a bit past doing that. And so we kept on top of that. And as I say, they did get told they would have to close. And so, yes, there was a church. I was sat at the railway crossing, which was just down from the Unitarian Church on Portland Street, which you've seen, Adrian, because you've been to Portland Street in the past. And I was waiting for the train to go past, and I happened to turn my head, and there was this little Welsh chapel, and it had space for hire. And so I took the number down quickly, and the following day I rang, and then they said, "Oh, come in this afternoon." So I got in touch with some of the trustees of our church, and we all went down, and everyone, as they walked in to the door, or through the door, they all said the same thing. And that is, I'm waving. Okay, somebody's and they all said the same thing, which was, this is the place. This is where we're supposed to be. We started off on the ground floor, and so we negotiated our lease and everything, and we started to decorate the church, and we were still running services from the old church, which was down the road. And nobody knew that we were we were having to move. Nobody knew anything. There was a lot of speculation as to where we were going. And every time somebody asked me, I was very, very naughty. I told little white lies, and I said, yes, that's where we're going. And I just left them all to speculate, because the one thing about spiritualists is they know how to chat. And and so I just left that speculation going on. And we prepared the church already, and I think we were there about 6-8 weeks. And the landlord came and asked me if I would take the whole building on, which I did, because by then we'd registered the church as a church, but it also has to be registered, as you know, as a business. And then we had applied to the Charities Commission for charity status. And everybody said, oh, you'll be waiting, 12 months or more before. Within 2 months of my actually applying, they wrote back, and they granted us charity status. There was a lot of work to do with that, because when you register a church, because the Welsh Chapel had obviously been a church, and then it had gone into disrepair, and then it had been used as office space. And so my registering it was putting it back to being a church. And, so we did that. And then, to be able to do that, you have to produce everything that you would use in a church. So you have to produce your timetables, you have to produce your services, the way you're going to conduct yourselves, how you're going to run everything. It all has to be printed and sorted out, and it all has to be submitted. And that's before they grant you the right to call yourself a church. So all of that was put in place. I'd never done anything like that before, but great learning curve, smashing. And for the charity, I started off with a triangle and scraps of paper everywhere as to what our aims and missions and things were going
to. Yeah, that's a good form, that one, isn't it?
And you've got all the papers, and then you whittle it all down to, we're having that, and that. There you go. And then you submit all of that. So, so everyone was going, it won't happen. It will take months, maybe a year, maybe more. And within 2 months, it was granted. So that meant for us that we were able to have the building minus the rates. And the rates on the church were around about £17,000 a year, just on that. Yeah. So that was a huge saving before we turned round. And then I'd negotiated a 10-year lease with the landlord. So we rented that space up until, unfortunately, I had to close it last August. And that was mainly down to COVID and the fact that, we're only allowed so many seats, and there was a lot of confusion with people as to what seats you were allowed in a building, and the maximum was 30. And so I rang the council and I said, right, this is the space that we have, and for me to actually put the chairs in, because it was only a small church, as Adrian knows, for me to put the chairs in with the 2 meters, which is the permitted distancing at the moment, I can get 7 or 8 chairs into the chair. That was it. And I said, but if I stagger the chairs and I put them 1 meter apart, but with 2 meters in between front and back, I can get 15 in. And they said, stagger the chairs and you'll be fine. But you then got to try and reassure people that everything's okay. So everywhere has to be spotlessly clean. So you're cleaning the church and all the light switches and anything that anyone could possibly touch, all cleaned. All of the seats had motor car seat covers over them, and even down to the bottled water, all wiped down beforehand, so that if anybody wanted any water, it was there, because we weren't allowed to have tea or coffee. And I did feel sorry for couples that were getting married, because, they'd sort of booked in, but they weren't sure whether they could have the weddings or not. And, so we used to have to wait for that, the bluey, as we called it, the blue paperwork, to come through from the town hall to say, yes, these people can actually get married. And then it was all systems go. But, it is a minefield, it is. So we lost a lot of revenue, because we used to have the awareness and development classes. We used to have the healing. We had people who hired space for all manner of different, sort of modalities that they were teaching or using the space for. We could no longer have special events on, like mind body fairs, or have guest mediums come in, things like this, where we pre-booked. And we used to have some really wonderful mediums that actually came in to the church, so we couldn't have any of that, but we had high overheads. So the overheads were on average around about £1,400 a month, and it just wasn't coming in at all. And so I had to make that decision then with the trustees with regards to closing the church. So we had to get on to the landlord, and I had to neutralise the building. It's now being used, would you believe, as a learning centre, and it was difficult, because I'd got in place various groups and organisations that were actually dealing with teaching people, whether it was English, to speak English or whatever, but there was all the space was being used for all that kind of thing as well. And of course, everything just disappeared before us. And that was really very, very sad.
It is.
And so we closed on the 13th of August. And I came home, and I got a letter from the council, and it said, would you like to apply for a grant?
I was just going to ask you that. I was just going to say,
Yeah, well, I'd applied for a grant, and they said no. And then they'd reviewed the case, and then they decided yes. And I rang them up and I said, I'm really sorry, but I can't take your option up, because you deemed us not suitable for a grant, and so therefore I've had to close the church, which by the way was one of your polling stations as well, so you've just lost a polling station in the borough. So I had to do that, and so that was a great sadness, a great sadness. So my belief in God is strong.
Yeah.
My belief in spirit was one of annoyance, to be honest.
Yeah.
After all that hard work,
Yeah.
and they asking them, please help us through all of this,
Yeah.
and keep the doors going and keep the church running. That didn't happen. So I've been home now for a while, and apart from going out and sort of officiating at funerals and things like that, which to me is very important, because that's the last rite of passage for anyone, and you have to, as a minister, ensure that you give them the best farewell that you can possibly give. And so I work very, very closely with the bereaved families, and I make sure that each and every single funeral that I do is built around that person who's passed away. I don't believe in doing generic services for that kind of thing. I just don't. I don't have a book that I sit with and say, I'll just read this out of this book. I sit with spirit and I say to spirit, I've got all of these notes in front of me, but I also need to get that true flavour and essence of this person that's passed away. And so I need you now to help me whilst I put this service together. And I'm always led for my prayers, my, sort of eulogy, and what have you, and then and any readings that we have or whatever, all predominantly catered for that person and their family, and thankfully not had any sort of complaints about anything. And I've had spirit. Would you believe, Adrian? This is the honest to God's truth.
I was thinking same as you, I think, there.
Come back and actually say to me, thank you, that was a lovely service that you gave me.
I was thinking...
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Best thing about being a minister and a medium, you do the funeral, you get the feedback after.
And you know what? Sometimes what's really disconcerting is that you're talking about them and you look up and they're stood there. Oh, you've come to join us. Anyway, I digress.
That was a really good service, Reverend Tina, but can you tell the bloke at the funeral parlour and put my hair on?
And so we do have the privileges as well, don't we, of knowing. Anyway, so that tends to be, sort of everything that I've sort of done. So I've taken the time whilst I've sort of not been in the church to reflect on a lot of things, and I do understand, when spirits say to me, Tina, with the best will in the world, you cannot fix everything for everyone. Try as you might, you're not here to do that. And you're damned if you help and you're damned if you don't. And that's the way I sort of, I have always tried my hardest for people. And one of the things that I do now, as you know, on Facebook, I have my page, Stand in Faith. And I'm drawn to various sayings or scriptures or something like that I actually put on that page. And it's lovely when you get the feedback, people writing to you saying, I really needed to hear that today, or thank you so much for the healing, or whatever it is. I mean, earlier this afternoon, I got a text off a lovely lady, Tara, whose dog Willow had passed away this time last year. And I always remember when she brought him to the church, she rang to ask if animals were okay to come in for the healing, which I always allowed them in. This dog came in. It was a Labrador, but it was more like a horse. I've never seen a Labrador so big in all my life. I just haven't. And it come in, this dog, Willow was the dog's name. So majestic and so lovely. And so, and it turned out this lovely dog had cancer. And so I said, well, yeah, I'm quite happy to, sort of pass on the healing energies. And so I sat on the floor with the dog and started to pass on the energies, and he slumped on the floor, so he's lying on the floor. So I lay down at the side of him, and as I was passing the healing energies on, I was just gently talking to the dog, and I actually said, right, this is where the cancer is, and she pointed to an area towards the back of the end of his body, and Tara said, that's right, that's where it is. So I said, it'll be all right, because they will get it. And they did the first time round. And so she would bring him in from time to time, and most people would go, woo, when he walked in the door, because it was so big. And then, but, the healers would all get down on the floor as well. And Tara used to be amazed, because she said, you're all lying all over the floor with this dog, and it's nearly unconscious with all the energy and things. But that was a great pleasure. And so, to get a text from her earlier on to say, just thought I'd touch base and say, it was a year ago today, and I still can't believe how wonderful you were with Willow, and I will always be grateful for that. And I thought that was lovely. And they're the things that we get that keep us going. They're the things that come in, and people coming forward, and you are helping them, and you don't even realize sometimes just how much you've actually given to them, and how much help they've actually received from you. And yes, we used to sometimes have pet healing days in the church, and they'd come in, and all the pets would come in, and we'd have this lovely service giving thanks to the pets for all the wonderful, sort of loyalty and love that they've given to us. And they'd all be barking and meowing and doing the whole 9 yards. And then we'd take them into the healing room, and they'd get the healing, and they, without exception, they'd come out and flop on the floor, and you wouldn't hear another sound. And that used to really sort of amaze the owners, because they didn't realize just how sensitive their pets actually were. And and I think we must remember that all living things need our help. Everything needs our help. It's not just the humans, it's everything and everyone. And so it's up to us to show people that that's what we're here for. That's what, it's not just to help, Joe Bloggs down the road, or, somebody get on their path or something of that nature. But if you bring an animal in that's hurting, yes, we can help the animal, and we can calm it down, and we can make it feel better about itself. And so they're the sort of, the sort of things that we would do at the church. So yeah, a lot of things like that. Great amount of pleasure. And baptism. I did a baptism, one time for this family, and all the people were gathered outside, and we were stood at the door, and we said, you can come in if you would, if you like, and find yourself a seat. They wouldn't come in. They just wouldn't come in. And you could see they were chunnering, saying, it's a spiritualist church. What kind of a baptism is, our little one going to get? And we did the baptism, and then we did the spiritual baptism as well. And I always remember afterwards all these people who had been so skeptical and not wanting to come into the church, but having to because the mum and the dad had arrived with the little one that was being christened. Afterwards said, I never expected that. I didn't expect the service to be like that. It was so lovely and so special. And to have a child be given its spiritual name also, they found that truly wonderful. So, all of those skeptical people who thought, we were heathens and pagans, and we would be zooming around the room on our broomsticks and all the rest of it, suddenly realized, actually, no, these people believe in God, and they actually, sort of look to the highest best for, the child as well as the family. So, yeah, very, very blessed and wonderful. So is there anything else that you want to ask me now? Because
absolutely. We do have a few questions.
Yeah. I've filled in a pretty good overview of everything.
You have. I've been ticking off as you've been talking. I'm just going to chuck that away.
That is, yeah.
Let's go for them. What advice would your younger self give your older self give your younger self?
Now,
yes.
Don't be fearful, because I think when I was younger, although I connected with spirit, I had a fear of it. And so that was part of my pushing it away. And now, because we get young people into the churches and, who are quite capable of working, even down to children, although I don't advocate that we, work wholly with them to bring that out, because I think they should have their childhood, but for them to be able to learn how to deal with what they're dealing with. I wouldn't be afraid. I think I would have connected when I was in my 20s again, instead of being in my late 30s before I did that. So no fear. You have to fear the living, not the dead. That's I put a joke on this week, and it says, why do people call upon spirit when they've passed away? Let me know you're okay. Please tell me that you're still all right, that you're full again and whole again and everything is okay. And the spirit world saying, but when we do that, why do you all run away screaming? And that amused me, because by and large, that's what we do. And it's daft. We shouldn't really do that. We should just embrace it and go with the flow and have that path. Because, if we go back over the millennia, we all connected with the earth. We all connected with spirit. It's been knocked out of us by the religions that have said, me, I'm the main one, me, I'm it. You've got to do what I say, and use that power over people. We shouldn't do that. We should go with the flow, have our God, have spirit, have the earth, appreciate it all of it. And that is the one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older. And I wish I'd known that to begin with.
Yeah.
Because the journey would have been so much better. So much better. Does that answer it?
It does, thank you. Adrian, do you have a question?
I do.
I was giving you a chance to check your list.
Yeah. Well, Rev Tina's, she's answered pretty much every single one on the list so far. But I've got a question myself, if that's all right.
Okay.
Please do.
What is your belief on spirit's purpose on its journey?
My belief on the spirit journey, you mean the way spirit worked through us?
No,
or do you...
The purpose of the spirit, the purpose of the soul.
The purpose of the soul.
Yeah.
It was the one thing that people used to sort of come into the church, and I had to put a notice up at the end of the day. And what it actually said was, and you probably saw it when you came into the church, and that was the word spiritual, or the word spiritualist in this church simply means we are here as spiritual beings living an earthly life. We are here to impart knowledge and understanding and to help our fellow man move forward in a way that is less destructive and more constructive. And for me, Spirit is trying to guide, help, and show us exactly that, and how to be loving towards one another, and to put the hatred on a back burner, and to actually start to embrace our fellow man. And instead of the ego, which is edging God out, push that back, because it doesn't belong in spiritualism. It just doesn't. We are here as disciples of our God, and we are here as channels of spirit, and we are here to help. And that is the only purpose that we actually should have. It doesn't matter whether the man down the road lives in a mansion and you live in a shed. At the end of the day, you are both spiritual beings, and you should embrace that and impart the knowledge that Spirit bring to us, to each and every one that we come into contact with. That's what Jesus wanted of his disciples. That's what God wanted Jesus to do as he promoted his disciples. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be disciples. We're supposed to go out and show people how wonderful being spiritual is, and sharing their knowledge and bringing it forward. And, you know, allowing the spirit world to use us as those channels so that they can come forward and share it. Because if we don't do that, then what? There's nothing. There isn't anything. There's no purpose. There's no reason. There's nothing. Nothing. And so we have our purpose and our reason. We share with each other whatever we can. And we should be grateful and glad and joyous of the gifts that everyone has, because they're not all the same. We don't all have those same gifts. You know, you might come on your spiritual journey and find that you've gone off on a tangent somewhere, you know, and you're taken on a different path altogether. And it may appear that it's away from spirit, but in reality, it doesn't matter what you think our world is, whether you're a pagan, a druid, whether you're on a witcher path, whether you are Christian, whether you are Islam, it doesn't really matter. One God, one, just one God. And we should live and share the spiritual teachings with each other. Is that enough?
Does that answer your question, Adrian?
Yes, doesn't it?
So basically saying then, we are spirits are on a journey to evolve in love.
Yeah.
Which is what we're taught by Jesus.
Because, you know, when we really look at ourselves, that's what we are. Our soul, our energy is pure love. That's all it is. And so when we depart from this world, when we go way with the overcoat and throw it off and go legging it up, you know, towards the light that we've seen, and so I'm here, where's the hoolie, you know, I've got my glad rags on and I'm ready to dance, you know, at the end of the day, you know, all those people, all that energy, everything, the angel, God, everybody, our families, they're all waiting for us to have an absolute riot and joyous time. And it's all love. It's all love. We don't go in there going, I hate you, you're not coming, blah, 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 as you would here. You know, we don't do that. We turn up and we go, way, look, I can live forever and go wherever I want. This is absolutely, when my dad came back from Spirit, he thought it was marvellous. He'd been all around the world. He thought, you know, he said, I've only got to imagine it, and there I am. He said, I've been the Taj Mahal and everything. He loved it. So why should I think that isn't going to happen to me? Why should anybody think it's not going to happen to them? Divine love is everything. It really, really is. And that's what we are. And in here, we have it hidden within the heart. And, you know, we just have to keep giving it out, you know, even if people do drive you mad sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's the human part of us, unfortunately.
That's the human bit.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
Exactly. And you get people, you know, they're whinging and whining and making comments. And I always say to them, do you know what must be absolutely marvellous for you to have been able to sit at the right-hand side of God, the judgments that you're passing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, what is your most embarrassing or funny moment on platform, Reverend Tina?
We'll have to think about that. I think that one where I said to you, I had a bit of a faux pas. I remembered before what it was. I'd got this Scots chap come through, and I couldn't remember the name of the, you know, they wear a sporran thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the name of it. And I kept drawing my finger around to my nether regions, you know, and saying, he's got a kilt on and he's got this. Well, I was so embarrassed before somebody shouted out, do you mean a sporran? And I was like, oh, thank heavens for that. You know, I was absolutely mortified because I couldn't think of the word. And that caused a bit of a, you know, a to-do. And then, as I say, singing a song from, it was one the Von Trapps sang, Hello, Goodbye.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah.
With a dance.
So long farewell, I'll be saying goodbye.
That's
I'm not singing it.
Yeah, no, well, you know, I found myself singing it and dancing and you know, and I just started laughing then, and I just said, I just feel such an idiot because I don't sing, you know, as you can tell, and you know, and what have you. But the whole congregation just went in sort of an uproar, and I think, you know, yes, we have to be serious to a degree as ministers, but you know, there's a lot to be said for fun and laughter as well.
Absolutely, there is.
And to be able to laugh when we make a faux pas of some sort, and let people realize, you know, we are human, and you know, we're infallible and we can make mistakes and what have you. And I, you know, people, yes, they give you the respect, but at the end of the day, they also know, you know, you're just like them, really.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and you know, you're there to listen and what have you, and hopefully give advice that may help them in some way. But you know, when the fun starts, it starts. And you know, sometimes I've been sat, you know, on platform with a working medium, you know, and they've gotten themselves into a kerfuffle when they're giving the message, and I am the first person to fold up in pleats of laughter. And I shouldn't. I should be able to, you know, but I think, you know, when the congregation can see that the minister is as amused as the rest of them, because they're sat there tittering in their seats thinking we can't laugh, we can't, because we're in church, and the minister then is beside themselves at the front, you know, and hanging onto the lectern, you know, and howling.
Oh, yeah, I know.
We can do that. And so they're the sort of thing. One of the funniest things, it didn't happen to me. One of the funniest things was, you know, as I said to you before, you know, I'm a walker. I'm up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And I went to a church one time, and it was a raised platform with steps either side. And this medium went, you jump like that and bang on the floor. Got those steps. I think I was the only one in the church, because they were all like this. I was the only one, I think, in the church that was absolutely howling, and I got all help the medium, you know, get back up on his feet. But and he didn't know where to put himself. But we have to remember at the end of the day, you know, we're just like anyone else.
Yeah.
All over our own 2 feet. Doesn't matter.
No, I follow mine all the time. Actually, that happened to Reverend Carl. Did that? He forgot the edge of the platform had come up, and he fell off and landed on his back with his arms and legs in the air. And his wife shouted, "You look like a turtle! For God's sake, get up!" You know, stuck on your back or something. She said to him.
But but they did. All these things happen. We're human, so what? It doesn't matter. But there are things that do happen sometimes that you end up, you fold, and you know that you shouldn't, but you do. And I
do it all the time. When we're in church, Reverend Jeanette, whoever's at the front with the medium, if it's me, Jeanette will sit bang opposite me in the congregation just to pull faces and do little actions that maybe she shouldn't, to make me keel over. And she did one time, and the medium next to me, I keeled over and he keeled over, and I turned to him and I went, "Did you see what she did?" And he went, "Yes."
And I think people have to realise as well, spirit have a wonderful sense of humour.
Oh, yeah.
They really, really do. And at the end of the day, if when they're working through you, that you can express their humour, why can't you express your own humour when things happen that aren't quite right? So, embrace all of that, because it's all part of the joy of living, isn't it?
Of course, yeah.
It's all part of that joy. And I think, and we've forgotten how to laugh. We have. And especially during this lockdown, and people are very sort of miserable and, unhappy and things like this. And then all the debates coming on and the theories and everything. And I don't buy into any of it. I just don't buy into any of it. As far as I'm concerned, it's a new form of plague. Throughout millennia, we've had plagues. And it's our go. That's it.
Yeah.
It's our turn. And how do we cope with this? And to be honest, some people really badly and very, very naughtily, and that's the way they are, and they can't help themselves. But they need to use that time to sit and reflect on the life that they've lived, and if they can change things and make themselves and everyone around them better. And if we can do that and we come out of this, the other side, hopefully we'll have a nicer world. Who knows? We might have that peace throughout the world, the one that we're all praying for all of the time. There might be that love for our fellow man. Doesn't matter what colour he is. I quite honestly don't care if you're going to sit there in front of me, green with big pink or orange spots. I'm still going to sit and chat with you because, you're somebody to chat to. Why shouldn't I? And I think that people at the end of the day, that's what they forget. And they're busy judging everybody everywhere, stuff that for a game of soldiers. Let's just all be happy people, happy, smiling people.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I'm always a cup half full. I get that from my dad, I'm afraid. Well, I'm not afraid, I'm pleased. Cup half full, always.
No, it's never, ever half full, because the bottom bit has the water in and the top bit has the air in it. So it's always full.
True, that's very true. Yeah. I think Adrian's got one last, I know, because he's got Jeanette's questions. The very last question you've got on Jeanette's list there, Adrian. Should we throw that one out there and see what Reverend Tina thinks of that one? She hasn't been warned about this, by the way, everybody who's watching.
Right, okay. So the last question is, what's your name and what are you doing on here?
No, it isn't.
Well,
do you have any parting messages for any of the viewers?
Do you have anybody that's coming through spirit that for anybody that's actually watching? Is there anybody sat with you that you'd like to pass on?
Right. I'll just chat for a minute and let's see if they do come forward, because it's quite a while since I actually did anything, to be honest. I mean, I was doing something with my husband, a Q&A last week. And I could see people's auras and the transfigurations and things like that, which I was quite pleased about, because, you know, you tend to think that you've forgotten. And now can right, I have the name Mark here, okay, and when I say I've got the name Mark, do you also understand, whoever this may be for? His name is Marcus, so it would be M-A-R-C as an abbreviated.
Oh yeah, I see.
Not M-A-R-K. And that's one thing that I'm being brought forward. And
is everybody listening out there? Can anybody take this, Marcus? Reverend Tina is going to give you a bit more information if it is for someone out there.
Okay. And excuse me, because I'm starting to move, and I'll just pretend I'm walking.
It's all right. We'll think you're on a treadmill.
Okay. And I also feel as though this person that's coming forward, which is a male figure, I have to say, as that male figure is coming forward, they're not a particularly big person in frame. So I'm a size 12, maybe 14 tops. And so this gentleman that's coming through, he's about as wide as I am on the shoulders. And believe me, I'm not sort of that shape, you know, I'm just sort of that shape. So, you know, he's not a particularly big chap at all. I also know, I have to be honest and say that he's got dark hair and it is straight. And I think there was a bit of length to this hair as well. So it wasn't like a short back and sides. It was a bit longer that he's given me, but it is straight. It's very straight. And he's not even... and it's quite fine, really. He's not got a head of hair. It's quite sort of fine hair as he's coming forward. He's also come forward here, and can I just say that the jeans that he's got on are rather big, and so I do feel that he's lost quite a bit of weight just before he passed away. This gentleman, and he's also talking about a connection to somebody called Brian. Okay. And when I'm doing that, I'm going on this side. And I know it looks like it's the left side that I'm going on, which it is. And the left side is my male side. So I have to say he's connected on the male side of the family. Can I go back at least 2 generations with this gentleman as well? Okay, and he's talking about being an uncle. Okay, so he's an uncle to someone here. And also, can I give you Northampton? Is that the way you say it? Northampton? Northampton. He's saying, it sounds like Northampton, the way he's saying it. Can I say that? As well, and so he's given me this place, and there's also a connection actually to somebody who is a forklift driver. He was a forklift driver, so he was obviously, when he worked, he was a manual worker of some kind, this gentleman, and he's come through. He's given me an age of 67, so I'm presuming 67 was an age, as you said. And I also have to say, when he's given me that, and he's saying about his hair and everything, he's kind of, oh right, what he's actually saying, he was quite lucky because he didn't go grey like a lot of people really go grey, and that he remained quite dark even at that age. And he's also saying it runs in the family. So, you know, there must be a family who, at the end of the day, you know, are remarkable in the fact that they don't lose the colour of their hair. I wish. And, so he's bringing that forward. And can I also say, he's taken me down to his feet, and he's got rather long, thin feet. And I would say his shoe that he's got on is at least a size 11. So there must be some height in the family as well. I can't imagine for one moment that there's a small person with great big feet, because he'd look like a dwarf or a gnome or something like that.
I got the picture of a clown with big feet, and you were saying them.
But he's come forward like that. And I have to say that there's a concern around someone here on the earth plane as well, with finances. If you understand that there's a concern about finances, there's also a concern over work, and I feel like somebody here has lost their job in some way. But this gentleman's sort of coming in, and what he's basically wanting them to know is that at this moment in time they mustn't really fret about it. They mustn't, because there will be work in the future coming up, okay? And what seems like a very negative thing right now won't be, because believe you me, it's a step up and it's a better situation in the job area that is coming forward. I also have to give the month of May, and can I also go around the 15th or the 16th of May as a birthday, okay? And I'm also being taken into the month of August. I have 3 anniversaries in August, one of which is a birthday, and I feel that is early on, and there are 2 later on in the August month, and they're both crossings when people have passed, okay? So they're to do with prior deaths, and they're coming forward in the month of August with the two dates. One is just after the middle of the month, and one is around about, they're giving me the 21st, so I have to say around about the 21st of August there was a passing. One of those passings as well, I have to say, please, was female, so that is also relevant, right? And also, can we look, we're going forward now, and can we look around about the time of June to come, please, when there are talks of moves, and when they're talking about the moving, it's to do with a house move. I think someone was contemplating a move and they changed their minds with the lockdown, and what they're actually going to do is rethink that, and come June they'll decide to go ahead with it, and I have to give you that as well. It's murder when you do it this way, because I'm so used to looking at somebody and going, right, I'm with you. Do you understand what I mean? And that's the way I normally would work with people as well. With the gentleman, this Mark, that passed away, I don't feel it's a cancerous condition that took him away, but there was, oh right, okay, an emphysema type condition. That's what he's given me, an emphysema type condition. So obviously had chest problems and things like this, that took him to the spirit world, and he did sort of lose the weight. I do feel that he was never a big made person, but these trousers, believe you me, the way they're on him with the belt fastened in, I think for some people they just don't feel the need as they get older to change their clothes and go out and buy new ones like we would do if we were younger in ways. This gentleman didn't. He got on with what he got, and he's putting a jacket on me at the moment, and believe me, it hung on him. It did hang on him. You know, and when I'm looking at the jacket as well, it's a kind of a grey jacket that he's wearing, because I was trying to pick out what it was, but it's like a grey jacket that he's actually got on at this moment in time. All things considered, he thinks he's come through looking rather dapper.
Oh.
He does. He really, you know, he thinks he's come through. He's put all of these lovely togs on. He's got an open shirt, by the way, an open neck shirt, and he's come forward, and he does think he's nice and smart, but he was a manual worker, and there was an emphysema type condition with there. And I do feel that he was around about 67 when he did pass. He didn't have particularly thick hair at all. Yes, there's one for you, and I've not heard this name in an awful long time, and it's Marlene. Now that's a really old name, isn't it? And he brings the name Marlene forward, and I don't think I've ever used that.
There's only one time I've ever used that. Fools and horses.
Was it? Oh, right. But no, he's bringing the name.
It is a very old-fashioned name.
It is, yeah, and when he's talking about in the family, they'll find it. Okay, they may not be aware of it now. They've also got somebody who, at this particular moment in time, is trying to figure out how to do the family tree as well. Okay, and to be able to track, you know, their forebears as well, because I do feel there was a lot of shifting about in the past. So where the family originated from and where they ended up, two extremes apart, if you understand what I mean. And I do feel that when that happened, it was for the work that they went, the family originally. I don't, and I feel that there's a connection from someone who may very well have lived down south and has come up this way, up the north, towards the north, looking for work. And I think that was to do with industrialization and things like that, because there were opportunities to get work then as opposed to anything else. So that they're bringing that one forward.
It's a shame when people that are online with us can't take it, but I have known Reverend Tina before. We've done this, and the medium's given a message, and everybody stayed quite quiet, and then people have messaged me after. Or on one of the cases, it was watched on a record, because you know it leaves a recording to StreamYard, and somebody actually picked up the message, and it was for them. So they're watching the recording and realised that message was for them. So it's quite possible that that's the way this one's going this evening.
And that's fine, because, you know, at the end of the day, I was on Facebook the other day, and somebody put a load of information down, and I read it. I don't know why I was drawn to it. I just was, and I read it all. And I wrote to this chap, and I said to him, I can take all of that. And I said, so I'm going to message you now and explain why, and which I did. And he was so delighted that I'd actually gone on, you know, and sort of said, because no one had picked the message up. And the only thing, and asking this gentleman again, you know, why did he sort of come forward? And it is to do with concerns about work situations and things like that. It does appear at this particular moment in time, it's a negative thing because they've lost their job. And there's an awful lot of people at the moment I know that have lost their jobs. But he's actually come forward to say, don't worry about it, because it's an opportunity and a chance for something better. And that's what he wants them to know as well. And and also there's a little black and white cat here, and it's not particularly old. So can I just say, it could have only been about 4 or 5 months old tops. Okay, when it was killed, and that's what it's letting me know, that it was actually killed, this little kitten. And it's black, and just here it's got white bits just here and a little bit on the chest. Okay, so if anyone recognizes that as well. I have been known to bring animals forward in the past.
I have to say, Reverend Tina, I think that kitten is mine.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, my Oscar. Yeah, he was only only very young, and he used to go out every day and come home every day. And I was away, and my friend was staying at the house and looking after him, and she didn't tell me that he didn't come home. And he ended up was missing for 3 days, and then she had the brave to tell me. She said he hadn't come home, and I said, "Oh my goodness, that's not like him." And he walked through the door, and he was in a terrible state with himself, wouldn't eat. Anyway, long story short, I ended up having to put him to sleep. But I know something happened to him while he was gone. He never ever didn't come home. But he's with me now, and he plays with the other cat. So I know he's here. I've seen him. I've seen him at church. You know. So so thank you for that. Yeah.
I have my little Yorkie that runs around here. My dog isn't. My dog's a Shih Tzu, but I did have a Yorkie, and he's here. And I also had Heinz 57. And Gem, and she's around and about, and I can always remember when I went next door, and I climbed over this, or rather stepped over a cat, and it was only after I'd stepped over it and I turned around that I realised no cat there, but it was the ladies next door, and I walked up the path because she'd gone away, and there was a mum stood in the middle of the conservatory. Fantastic head of hair on this lady who'd passed away about 2 weeks previously. And I opened the door, and as I went in, I said, "I saw you, Flo." So there, and I said, "And I will be going into your bedroom shortly to give it a good clean."
Grab a duster if you want to help.
So I'm here now, because I used to pop in for the lady next door and tidy up for her if she'd been away for a few days. So you do see things sometimes out of the corner of your eye or whatever. I hope someone somewhere can understand what I've said, and I've also I've got somebody shouting here, "Morag, Morag, Morag," like that.
That's another unusual name, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So if someone can take a morag somewhere, fine by me, Yeah. They're waving.
Well, Lisa Scott's just joined us and says, "Sorry, her phone crashed, so I've told her to replay because that message could be for her." I've just asked her to replay. So I'm sure if somebody decides to own that or didn't want to own it, please message me so we can pass that on, because we know that Reverend Tina's correct. We just would like to know where it's gone, won't we?
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, I never get uptight when I give out information and no one takes it, because we don't know. We don't know what goes on, and we don't know whether people are thinking, "Oh well, I'll join in, or I'll tag, or I was going to go to," and and they don't make it for whatever reason. That's okay. I know some people, throw their head. They do all of this because they think, "Oh, it's not there. I can't change what comes through. I can't." No. And I'll just give off. And I think, if I was able to walk up and down and crash about the way I normally do, I'd have probably gathered a lot more bits of information.
I thought you brought loads of information. It was really good.
The other part of that is we must always be mindful as well that when spirit come through, they are economical. And so we don't necessarily, if I was giving a message to somebody over that side of the room and somebody over that side of the room can understand some of it, well, take it, because at the end of the day, there's no sort of there's no way that we can say that everything is exclusively ours. It isn't. Do you know what I mean? It isn't. And so when spirit comes through, they might bring a situation that someone else can also understand, and that person might go out feeling like $1 million because, you know, they feel that their loved one has been, and they might not have directly got the message, but there was information there that they could understand and take. Always take that, always.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's a good, I don't mean go in and be a body snatcher. You know, because I know
just to clarify, everyone,
you know, you get that person in the chair in the congregation sitting in the chair. They're, me, it's me. For everyone that comes forward, and for me, I shouldn't say it, should I really? But I always refer to them as the body snatchers, and you get used to them, you know.
Oh, you do. You do.
They're week in and week out, really. But at the end of the day, we don't mean it nastily, by the way, folks. It's just that remember who you are. Just be glad we remember you. You know, because there's so much going on up here half the time that it's easy to forget. But always take from a message, whoever gives the message out, something there that registers with you, and you can understand it, and that just for that brief, short period of time gave you something, because spirit want you to, you know, to know that they're there, and they want you to know that they're all about all the time. And, you know, we're never sat in an empty room. I mean, there's 1 million of us here right now, and there's 1 million of us with 1 million spirits, probably with Reverend Sarah there and with Adrian as well. You know, and it's wonderful because they're all in and they're all jostling and me, the way they do, because they want to come forward, you know, and there's only one of us, and we're lucky sometimes if we can hear, feel, or see, you know. So be open-minded when you go anywhere, and make sure that you enjoy whatever the service is, because there's always something, especially in the philosophy. Philosophy is absolutely wonderful, because spirit will give you. I always used to drive to a service and say to spirit, give me a word, please, that I can use for the philosophy tonight. And they'd give me a word, and I'd be driving along saying, please, do I have to do that one? You know?
I do that. Give me some direction, and then they'll go this way, and I'll go, really? Do I have to have that?
Oh, no. You know, once you get in there and you're up on platform and you've done your prayer and everything, you go into your philosophy, you know, your mouth does, you know, and it does all of that, and you give off the philosophy. Somebody may not get a message, but they might come up to you afterwards and say, you know, that philosophy, it meant so much to me. Or a few someone's might. And, you know, again, economy of spirit will come in and do that and give us what people need. And we have, that's our job. That's our job, to share. So I'm sorry if some of the information I gave wasn't accepted.
No, I do feel that somebody's going to come forward, and I will let you know, I promise.
Okay.
I know that's gone somewhere. I just know it, you know, and I felt like it was being absorbed and somebody was hanging back for whatever reason.
I think so, because sometimes they go away. Some people go away and they have family. Does this person sound familiar to you? I think I might have seen a photograph.
Exactly.
Of you know what I mean? And then they come back afterwards and they say, you know what, you know that information you gave the other day? Yeah. Well, I was able to take that. I went and checked. That's fine. That's fine. You know, because we're not infallible, are we?
No,
we're not infallible.
No, we're not.
No, but no, I don't think I've got anything else.
No. Well, that was lovely of you to do that, Reverend Tina. I'm going to have to call us to time, much as we could listen all evening to you. Yes. Would you mind doing even though like I've got posts coming out top of my head and my ears look like a question and an answer. They're my new earrings. But exactly. It should say this way or that for me, I tell you.
I mean, I argue with myself because many years ago, you know, I used to I trained to teach with Loughborough University. I trained to teach exercise to music. So my right hand isn't my right, it's my left. And my left hand isn't my left, it's my right. Okay. It's all back to front. Because when you're working and you're working with mirrors and things like that, and you're calling out, okay, then everything's back to front.
Of course, yeah.
Back to front. So when I went for my when I went to do my driving test, you know, I did get confused a few times because the instructor said, you know, can you turn right here? And I turned left or the other way around.
Oh, yeah, you're still on opposites.
Yeah, but because I didn't do anything wrong apart from I turned the opposite way, but I followed the road, you know, sort of thing like that. I didn't fail, thankfully. You know, he must have just thought when he got out of the car, I am so relieved to get out of the car because I have just been sat with the modest woman I've ever come across in all the world. And, you know, and I embrace that, you know, because that's part of who we are.
Absolutely.
And what we are, and you know, and just be who you are and what you are, and try not to be anything other than that. And
happy in your own skin, I call it.
Yeah, and you look like a nurse. Actually, you must have someone in the family who was connected with nursing, by the way.
I maybe did. It sounds like I should know, if you know what I mean, but I think it goes further back that I'd need to ask.
That post at the top keeps changing, and it's one of those.
I can see what you're saying. Yes.
It's one of those proper sort of, you know, the way they used to wear the nurses' hats.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I keep seeing that on your head, so I know that there's nursing somewhere in your background as well.
I'm going to be careful what I put behind me, aren't I?
What?
It could read anything, actually. You know, where I'm cutting letters out, could read anything. Look, it could look like it says swears.
You just have to watch. Adrian's lulled you into a false sense of safety here by saying he's a technophobe. And he will catch you out with a new background one day. Just waiting. So you might suddenly find you've got antlers or something.
I do have quite a good one that makes me look like I've got great big angel wings. I quite like that one.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it is quite nice. Well, I'm going to get you to do a closing prayer for us, please, Reverend Tina. Much as we'd like to stay and chat, we need to say good night. So would you mind doing a closing prayer for us?
All right. So
thank you.
We will ask once again, Divine Spirit, our Father God, thank you for sharing time with us this evening. It's been a pleasure to share time with Reverend Sarah and Reverend Adrian. I ask, please God, that all of those people around the world who are suffering through war or famine or mayhem or whatever that is surrounding them, can we please ease their burden? Can we allow those who are sick to be well again and to recover? Can we ask for the children of the earth who are suffering through cancers and really awful sort of conditions and diseases? Please help them, God, to recover from those awful times that they actually have through treatments, etc. Remembering also all our lovely animal kingdom, let's show them some respect. They show us respect and they show us love, unconditional love. It's time we started to give back. I also ask, please God, for all of those who are working through the emergency services or through sort of the governmental services, i.e. the army and so on. Please help and protect and guide them in their daily jobs, and that includes also obviously the police and our nurses and doctors. Please allow all of them to be safe, well and protected. And I also ask, please allow our earth to be healed and this terrible pandemic that is surrounding us at this moment in time be actually brought to a close, just like all plagues and pandemics that have gone on in the past. Let's call it to a close so that the people of the earth can move forward and once again share time together and to hopefully be wiser and more aware of each other. And we ask all of this, God, in the name of love, from the very soul of our being and our very hearts. Amen.
Amen. Lord, keep us safe this night, secure from all our fears. May angels guard us while we sleep, till morning light appears. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for a lovely evening, Reverend Tina. We've had a great time.
And everybody's had a lovely ear bashing. So
that's the idea.
Yeah,
Thank you ever so much for joining us.
And Adrian, I do hope that you settle up in Bridlington. You find what you're looking for, honey, because you've had a bit of an up and down road.
I know. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, much love to you. And I hope that you find that dream that you're looking for, because it's there for you.
Thank you.
Bless you. Bless you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for Reverend Adrian for stepping in for Reverend Jeanette this evening. I'm sure she'll appreciate that. Hope we see you again, Reverend Tina. We've really enjoyed seeing you.
Thank you.
Everybody, our congregation, join us. We have got 3. I don't know why I do this to myself. We've got 3 services next week. Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And I'm also at work in my lettings cap all week. So I'm really pleased with my new halo light, which won't show the bags under my eyes, and I can keep smiling.
Well, it was lovely. It was lovely to meet you, Sarah.
And you as well.
I've enjoyed it. Obviously, I do know Adrian, and it was nice to sort of, and I did come in and watch your ordination, and enjoyed it as well. So I found it, being ordained as a minister, that it brought me peace.
And me.
Yeah, and it brought me so much peace, and it brings to you that understanding that you are there, and you have that complete and utter trust and faith in your God, whoever he, she may be, because that's the big debate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it male or female? It could be amorphous.
Could be.
So who are we?
That's it. And on that note, it has. We've really enjoyed it. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Good night and God bless everyone. See you soon. Take care of yourselves.
Take care.
Bye-bye.